Good morning, Lampasas ISD. I'm Mrs. LaPierre. I teach fine arts at Taylor Creek Elementary School, and we are getting ready for an amazing year. But we need to talk about how things are different this year. Because of restrictions on sharing supplies, what I'm going to be doing is asking your students to bring to class their supplies from their homeroom and take them back each week. So let's talk about how to best set your student up for success. Most students store art supplies in this small box. It doesn't fit a lot. So let's talk about how to best utilize this so your student can have the best success. One thing that's totally necessary are pencils. Don't forget an eraser and a sharpener. Now this is a great sharpener, this metal sharpener. This is an acceptable sharpener as well. So don't worry about your students using a sharpener. I'll teach them how to safely use a sharpener. Obviously, a pair of scissors. I love colored pencils. Colored pencils, in my opinion, are a lot better than markers. They don't leave the lines and we can combine and use colors. So even my kindergartners and pre-K, I prefer colored pencils, but if you want to use markers, that's fine. Just don't worry about it. Don't stress. We'll make sure whatever your student brings to class, they can use and participate in class that day. Now, if your student shows up with nothing, they forgot their art box, they lost their art box, they just didn't bring it, and the teacher's not in their room to go back and get it, then they'll be given a brand new pencil that'll be sharpened, and they can participate for that day and catch up the next week. Now, glue sticks are much smaller and work great, but sometimes they don't work very well. I will provide this kind of glue. It's probably too big to put in your art box, but I will make sure I put a little bit out for your students so they're not touching the bottle. That's safest. Now these are a wonderful item, watercolor pencils. This is a nice option because you can color and then get your paintbrush and wet them. One thing that's not on supply list for older students is watercolors. We want to use watercolors this year, but please no acrylics, nothing that'll stain. And also please no pastels, regular pastels or oil pastels, because they're very messy. If you use those, I cannot add fixative because of the smell in my room, and everything they make, most things this year will be taken out immediately, but some things we'll have to stay and work on, so I don't want pastels, please. But watercolors, a must. If your student is a student who needs help financially, please, I know the pandemic has been really hard on a lot of us, so please do not hesitate to reach out to myself or our counselor, and we can make sure your student will be supplied with a set of watercolors. The watercolors will stay in my room because they don't fit in the box. So I will keep watercolors, but I cannot keep other supplies. I just don't have the storage. So again, that's watercolors, colored pencils, crayons, glue, sharpeners, eraser, pencils, and scissors. Now you can add more, you can bring more, but I would not suggest bringing large art kits that you have to store in your homeroom, because your homeroom teacher's not going to appreciate that. But you're going to use whatever you have. So your student will not be left out. We'll make sure that all lessons will accommodate whatever your learner brings to fine arts. We'll be using some of these items for music. We'll be using markers to drum and other things in our class. So we hope you have an excellent year. Please don't hesitate to reach out to myself, your fine arts teacher, or your counselors, and we'll make sure your student has a successful and safe year at Taylor Creek or wherever they're at.